Everybody, it's Sabrina back with some more landscape painting. We're almost done with the line art. In this video, I think we should be able to finish up painting in the line art and then get to shading. If you've missed any of the other previous videos, I'd suggest you go back and watch them if you want to sort of see how I went about painting all of this. Alright, we're in for a chill time today. Let's get to it. Okay. I feel like I should get these banners out of the way, first and foremost. I guess I can... guess I can add quick layer just to paint in the banners. Okay, so these have to be red. Fine with a more orange hued red. Yeah, with this a little darker. Yeah, okay. I have a reference image this time so I can actually see what I'm doing in terms of colors for the banners. Okay. Oh, I have to put this below the line art. Because if I don't, then it'll end up looking like I'm coloring over the lines. I should name this layer. I will name this layer with you guys as my witness. Keep me honest. Okay. As soon as I'm done painting in the banners. Ah! Out of the lines. It's okay, that's not a hard fix. There we go. We're gonna do all the red and then we'll go in and fill in the white, which is this area in the middle of the banner. The person who last colored this didn't color in this one, but I feel like this is supposed to be a banner just because of the way that it's drawn. Kind of wavy in the wind, you know? Even if it doesn't have the symbol on it. Hard to ignore. Go. Brush open, yep, okay. Yeah, if I don't color in these banners now, definitely forget about them. I'm starting to notice some areas that didn't quite get added into my selection at the very beginning of this, but it's not really that noticeable from afar, so I'm not super worried about it. I have to keep in mind when I do this line art to make it slightly darker than the rest because this looks more like a wrinkle in the fabric than anything. Yeah. I think we're almost there with all of this. All we have left after the line art is just shading and blending, and those parts I feel like should go quicker than I normally take for shading and blending. Mainly because I'm doing it in color. I used to underpaint, which was I would do all of the painting and shading in grayscale and then I would go over it with a color. But for this one I'm just going to shade in the color that I'm using and blend that way too. trying new things, you know? There we go. Sometimes I zoom in to the point of pixelation, but just so that I can get a more accurate painting. And you know, using multiple layers just to keep things neat so I don't end up erasing any of my hard work from before. That would not be fun. We'd be here forever if I did that. Okay. Let's see. It's already looking more complete. That's nice. Okay. So I think for the center, it's supposed to be white, but I think I'm gonna go for more of an off-white, like a cream color almost. So that would probably be more like this. Yeah, off-white is white with a little bit of yellow tinges to it, so more like a natural fabric color. I don't like using true white in things very often. It's very jarring. Or any sort of true color is very jarring to use in when you're painting or coloring or drawing, design in general. And I don't want it to be jarring. Sometimes this thing doesn't like to respond to touch controls, so I have to manually move things around and zoom in. There we go. These folds in the fabric of the banner, I'm going to have to do multiple colors. A darker version of this off-white and a darker version of the red. Yeah. It's looking pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, and if I don't press so hard on the screen, I can get a slightly smaller size, so I don't have to go and like change the size of my brush all the time. Let's see how that looks. Wow, that was too far away. Okay, it's better. I like that. That's nice. Okay. And I feel like this doorway, now that I'm doing this, should be, because there's no definition to it, I can just kind of fill it in. Let's do it this color, because you would see the kind of like rocky outcropping first, I think. I'm just gonna hug the line art first. Okay. Now I'm gonna name the layer. I'm gonna name it... I'm gonna name it fill color. Yeah, okay. Now we're gonna lock it so don't accidentally mess with it, and we're gonna go back to the line art. Okay. We'll start up here. We'll start with the banners just to get them out of the way. And just slightly darker. And that circle line is also going to be, the center line is going to be a different color from, say, this outline color that I'm doing now. So I'm just going to do all of these red bits first. Okay. I might leave those little black nubbins up at the top. I think they're kind of like the hanger for the banner. Or I might make them gray, one of the two. These will be easier because there's no white center emblem to paint around. Yep.
This is why Miami is for you.
Okay, now we do the off-white center. Slightly darker. I don't know if this is too... No, it's not. Okay. I was curious if it was too dark in tone. I don't think it is. Okay. Oh, did it do it? Yeah, it did. Okay, cool. Alright. And I like the way this banner looks without the black outlining. Just because I find it a little distracting. But I think this method is working out in general. Okay. Banner's done. I think I'm gonna do some of the areas I missed on the roof before I forget. Okay. And I don't have to like super worry about the brush size for this because it's the line art. I can't really color outside of the lines because I made a clipping mask to keep me from doing that. It really makes the line work way more malleable, and I like that. Okay. Now this is about the same color as that area I just did, so I don't have to change the line art color. I have to remind myself not to slouch, just as a principle. It hurts the back when you're working. There we go. This roof, it makes me upset. I'm gonna see if I can fix that. I don't know if it's something that I just forgot to do, or if it was a line work that I just couldn't color in. No, I can color it. I don't know why I didn't do it before. Okay. Maybe because this color would be better. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Okay. Ah! That's why I should be using this more. Okay. Trying to see if there's anything here that I don't want. Okay, I think the city portion is fine. The city portion is fine. Okay, let's move on to the boats. Oh, too close and yet also too far. Okay, there we go. Alright. Different color for the line art. So, yeah, good color for the line art. I'm gonna leave the bottom part blue, just to sort of show the water lapping over the edges of the boat. Let's make this a little smaller for this area because it's overlapping areas I don't want it to. We'll come back to the sails. Oh, this one over here. Let's make this bigger again, just so I can cover more ground. I think that's beginning to come out pretty good. There's some areas in this boat that I might want to fill in, kind of like areas that go below a boat. But I'm not sure if that's what that's intended to be or not. It's hard to tell. Maybe? Yep, there we go. Yeah. Yeah, this boat is definitely more detailed than the last, so more chances of accidentally coloring things I'm not supposed to. Still, again, not the worst thing in the world, considering I've got all my line art isolated, so I can only really accidentally color over line art that I already did. And not like the whole background or anything like that. Excuse me while I move around a ton. Starting to notice that some of these white spots were just a part of the line art layer, which is nice because they're starting to get filled in. like holding my breath doing these little lines so I don't mess them up super wildly. Okay, I think that is most of the ship. Most of it. Forgot about this little area down here. Okay. Good portion of that ship done. Now we can get to the sails. Okay. This is also kind of like off-whitish color. Let's try this color for the line art to see how it works. Oh no, the sails aren't part of the line art. Oh no, wait a second. Oh, my mode changed. Sometimes I get issues and I have to take a little look-see at what accidentally changed. I don't know when I accidentally changed that. Maybe I accidentally hit a button on my keyboard or something. I think last episode, oof, look at me. Last video, it was an issue with opacity, and this time it was an issue with the layer, the brush mode. It's going nice and quick. I don't know if it's my focus. If my focus is better than usual. Maybe. I'm just kind of excited because we're almost done with all of this outline stuff. Alright, I left this out because it was a lighter shade than everything else. Let me just go in and darken it half shade or something. Okay. Yeah. Okay, all right. Have a little thing behind my computer keeping the display up, and it slipped. Okay. Now we zoom out to see if I left anything out. No. Okay. Yeah, I did. I left the top mast out. Okay. Yeah. And then we can get to the shading, which first I have to combine some layers just to keep Photoshop running efficiently. Oh, I found some areas I forgot to color in. And I'm gonna keep the line art layer available but locked, just because as I shade I might need to change some line art shades. I'm gonna lock this and I'm gonna hide it. So this is kind of like a before and after almost. Is it before? After. It really softens up the image, yeah? Which I like. The softer look for the sunset and everything, or sunrise. Not entirely sure which direction we're facing in this image, but yeah, softer look, and that's gonna help a lot when we start blending. Okay, so first off, I'm gonna hide a couple layers. Okay. And now we're going to do where. Oh, let me merge visibles because I'm not on a. Alright, let me see. Merge visible. Okay. Oh, whoops. Let's hide the background layer real quick. I don't want to merge it with the background layer. Let's do this again. More image visible. There we go. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So, making a new layer, and this also goes beneath the line art layers because we don't want the shading to sit above the line art necessarily. I can always play with it a little, see what I like the most, but we're gonna name this layer shading. And this is gonna be all of my darker tones, and the highlighting and stuff like that will be on its own layer too, just to keep things a little neat. If I don't like them separate, I can always combine them later, but we're gonna start like that. Okay. This area will be reserved for rim highlighting. Okay. This top area should be shaded. Just looking at my reference image to plan out the shading. Okay. Okay. And I have to change brushes. So this, instead of using brush pen, I'm going to use a paintbrush, just because that allows me to build up layers. And it is okay if I go slightly outside of the lines. I can always go in and clean that up afterwards. Kind of like when I was doing my base coloring a couple videos ago. We're going to start by blocking in our different shades. You may want to start dark. Let's see how dark this is. Yeah, that works. And I usually lighten up my pen pressure a little bit as I go down. And right now it looks a little streaky, but when we go in and we start blending, that should help soften up the edges a bit. I don't like that. I feel like that's too dark. Okay. Just take a couple steps back until I'm at a place that I'm happy with. No, okay. Still unhappy. I'm just gonna step it all the way back. Okay. I feel like this should be darker than everything else. Maybe. Okay. It's better. There's a couple different colors mixed into with the shading. But I think that can kind of go over it in its own layer. That's nicer. Softer when I use a bigger brush. And again, I'm not really worrying about accidentally coloring over this tree because I can go in with an eraser, which should be way bigger in size. There we go. And I believe this is, yeah, my natural edged eraser, so it's soft around the edges. So when I erase, it doesn't look too harsh if I go outside of the lines. And I'm not too worried about accidentally erasing some of the actual shading, because when I start blending it in, that'll more than likely soften up the edges there. you should vary up size because you get different effects with different brush sizes, even if it's the same brush. And there's this handy nifty trick that I like to do at the end of all of my shading that I'll show you guys. As soon as I finish blocking in all of the main colors. I like to call it a wash, in which I just sort of wash the color that I'm shading in very lightly over the area that I've started shading in. And it adds a lot of dimensionality. Again, these smaller areas I might want a little bit more going on to add texture. The further down I go, kind of liking that. I'm not totally sure how I'm liking this right now, but we'll see. Okay. I'm going to start washing some areas, so large brush, and I kind of just very lightly with my pen, not too harshly, go over some areas with the shading color. Darkens things up, but not in a bad way. And that it also softens the image a little more. And it fills in any areas that I accidentally left out. I feel like that there can be more shadows in a place, I can just go in and fix that up. Okay. This is going to require a lot of blending, but I'm okay with that. Down here, I didn't wash this area. Okay. Pretty good. It's alright. I don't want to start blending yet, but maybe I will just to see how I like what it's going to look like. Let's clear up some areas here, clean up some areas that got washed that weren't supposed to. All of these individual trees are going to be a lot of work, but definitely worth it in the end, I feel like. Just trying to make something I can feel proud of, you know? If at the end of the day you're genuinely proud of your work, and the progress you've made in learning a new craft, then hey, that's a pretty good success. Of course, there's always things that you can do better, but that's with everything. Just gotta keep note of it and keep on moving. It's fairly clean. Okay. Might have to stop soon, but at least we got down some basic shading, some basic blocked colors in, and maybe I can start showing you guys what the blending is gonna look like. Yeah, okay. So, when I'm blending, I have a brush called a brush blender that I have from this little handy brush pack that I like to use so much. And basically the first thing that I do is I use the eyedropper tool, grab from the lightest shade, and I kind of like wisp it into the darker shade. I like to think of it as closing an envelope, what I do on these edges. I don't know why. I don't know if that's the best analogy or not, but it's the one I use. And then I use the eyedropper tool and I take from the darkest shade and I go over this new line that I've created, kind of blending these colors into each other, you know what I mean? You definitely need to take more breaks when you're blending. If anything, mostly because your eyes get very tired very quickly. And I'll keep on doing that until I have a smooth color variation that I like. Let me change the positioning of this shading layer real quick. I think that this might actually be better on top. Yeah. Okay. It's definitely a process because this is such a large area, but let me see. I could maybe make this size bigger. Yeah. And that'll help a lot with filling in a soft little diffused area. And I also don't press very hard with my my brush when I'm doing this either. And that's already looking more nicely diffused than, say, this area, which is very clearly a circle of shading, which I should blend out too. I'm trying to kind of like pull these colors into each other to create the mid-tone. And it's a soft enough brush that it works out pretty well. Alright, next video I'll continue to blend out this rocky outcropping, and then I think we'll get to shading some more of those areas like down here. We'll get all of this color done first, shading and blending, and then we'll move on to the green, which is the next really big area, and then this gray area, and so on and so forth. Awesome. Okay, so if you really liked this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and if you want notifications anytime that we're streaming, make sure you hit that bell icon. It was great working with you guys today. If you are interested in taking a class on digital drawing or coloring, then the digital drawing and coloring class is for you. If you want something slightly more dynamic, I would suggest the animation class. And if you're into story writing along with the use of character creation and any of these things that I'm showing you right now would also apply to comic book creation if that so suits your fancy. Alright. I'll see you guys next time for some more shading on this piece. Hopefully we'll be done with it soon and we can move on to a new coloring page to color in or shade, or maybe even something that I drew myself. Alright. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.